Hello and welcome once again to the second official episode of CAW University, which is my ongoing tutorial series utilizing the creation features of WWE12. And in this tutorial, we're going to be focusing on the logo designer and using it to make attire pieces, specifically for female CAWs. Logo designer recently got its name change after being known as the paint tool for the previous two SmackDown vs. Raw games, and is pretty much the most valuable asset for any CAW creator nowadays, on the fact that you can use it for making a plethora of logos, designs, tattoos, and stuff for wrestler attires. More commonly, designs for trunks, tights, kick pads, elbow pads, you name it. Basically, the only limitation is your imagination. Yeah, I know that kind of rhymed there, but you get the idea. So, before we actually get into any application, I just wanted to give you a little general information as far as what to do in terms of making original CAWs or specialty CAWs, because the process is a little different from, say, if you are making a realistic CAW of an actual person, actual wrestler or celebrity or something like that. You have to have a plan. You have to have some kind of a blueprint or schematic of what it is that you want the CAW to be, how it is you want them to act, how it is you want them to look. You're basically creating a character from scratch if you're doing it well enough. Someone who is visually appealing enough to have another person, another player want to download and use it. A lot of that is visual as far as the morphing goes, face morphing, body morphing, but then also how their attires look like. In terms of female attires, it's a little trickier because obviously on a male, there's only really but so much that you need to do. Some cool graphics on some trunks, or long tights or pants, or the kick pad, knee pad combinations that are frequently used by CAW creators, myself included, are pretty cut and dry to make and use and make unique results. For female CAWs, however, historically, the options have been slim pickings compared to the male counterparts, and it seems that there are only a couple of additions that are added year to year as far as attire pieces, hairs, and other different things. So the alternative obviously would be to just make your own damn graphics and your own damn clothes, and that's where the logo designer comes in. So that's going to be our focus here. Now you'll notice that in the 256 by 256 format, that's the format that you want to work more often than not, because you can get maximum detail in this format, obviously, for like creating curves or certain designs. And from there, after you've completed the work, you would basically import into a 128 by 128 file the high resolution image to actually be used on the CAW itself. That's the technique that I've been using ever since I started using the paint tool, to be completely honest with you, and I'm pretty sure there's a lot of other CAW creators out there who use the exact same methods. Something you should definitely get used to doing yourself, because obviously low-res paint tool designs, or logo designs if you will, can be used more frequently, up to 10 different ones, numerous times on any CAW, so long as you have the necessary amount of layers to be able to cover it. So always work in 256, basically. That's the first and most important part of this lesson. Work in 256, import it into 128, and you're good to go. Now, like the last tutorial, I'm basically working in real time here. I'm not talking over previously recorded footage. I'm actually building this particular attire from scratch. And the first thing that you're going to notice, well, not the first thing, but one thing that you're going to notice is that I'm going to be working on multiple pieces, because in an attire, you're not just basically working one specific piece. You will, more often than not, have to do maybe 3, maybe 4, sometimes maybe even 5, 6, 7, or a full 10 different logo designs in order to formulate one full-fledged attire for one CAW. And that's because obviously there are different parts of the attire that you have to take into account, such as the top elbow pads, the kick pads, and then just different pieces of one specific item that you might need to make in order to make it look as realistic as possible, or if anything, just to make it look like it's a actual piece of clothing and not just something that you slapped onto a CAW arbitrarily. That's the real trick behind using the paint tool to make attire designs. You want to make it look as realistic as possible and not like the old school slapped on, painted on attire effect that the THQ WWE games had in previous iterations before they actually started incorporating polygon designs into the attire pieces for created wrestlers. Now, just to inform you, the attire that I'm working on here, as I had alluded to in the previous tutorial on CAW facial morphing, is going to be for the still undressed female CAW that I had morphed based off of Claudia San Pedro in the first CAW University tutorial. I'll have a link to that tutorial for you in the description, so you can catch up on that, maybe pick up a couple of skills there too. A good idea as far as attires goes, just like I said with the overall CAW, is to have a plan of what it is that you're going to be doing. That takes a certain level of research on your part, basically hitting up Google for any kind of fashion ideas, because you are in essence being a fashion designer of sorts, especially in terms of female wrestler attires, because female wrestlers naturally are a little more fashionable than male attires, because they have to have that sex appeal to them of being more visually appealing. Now, by visually appealing, I don't mean having to show flesh, so to speak, or show cleavage or booty or anything like that. Of course, that's not stopping you from doing it if you want to. I've done it myself at times, and I will do it in the future with certain CAWs, but the main thing that you need to keep in mind is style. You want to have your CAW have a certain kind of style, or whatever kind of style it is that you envision and that is portrayed primarily through their look and their moves. Uh, I'll give an example of a heel wrestler. Now, if you wanted to make a badass heel type CAW, whether they be a male or a female, chances are you probably wouldn't want to have them in an attire that is wearing, say, white or blue, because those colors are usually associated with purity and heroics. So generally you'll see more villainous characters, faces or heels in wrestling, wearing blacks, black and reds. Obviously you have some exceptions to the rule, Alberto Del Rio being one of them, because he's a heel and he wears white, but that kind of more fits into his persona of being the aristocratic, well-to-do type gentleman. So again, it falls more into really a matter of him playing to his persona and his look playing to his persona, because white and gold generally creates a visual illusion of wealth and prosperity that obviously they wanted to play off for the Del Rio character. But say a good example would be like a heel Triple H. It wouldn't look the same if he was wearing white and gold tights. Even though he had a run where he was wearing different colors aside from black in his Evolution days, still you had that Triple H feel to it, to him, to his character, and it was really more a matter of character itself. But you want to generally play it safe there, and design attires that fit your CAW's personality, and have a personality for the CAW to begin with to work around is another good idea, which is pretty much a matter of brainstorming character concepts and such like that. I have a couple of CAWs, if you're familiar with my CAW work, that are modeled from other people or actual wrestlers, such as John Morrison or MVP Yuji Nagata, Antonio Inoki. The list goes on. Current wrestlers, former wrestlers, international wrestlers. The one thing you gotta always realize, no matter where you are or who you are in the CAW creation community, whether you're just starting out, whether you're a more experienced guy like I am, whether you're a guy who gets like 1,001 views per video on YouTube, or wherever it is that you might stand in the pecking order, the one thing you should always remember as far as original CAWs goes is that nothing is original. Nothing. Nobody yet has came up with a character concept of an original CAW that is 100% something that no one on the entire planet has ever not thought of or seen before. Everything stems from everything else. Your inspiration for CAW creation is going to come from other sources, not just wrestling, but maybe you might see something on the window of a store, or you might see a piece of clothing online, or somebody might say something like a catchphrase or something on TV. Anything, anywhere can spark your creative juices as far as creating wrestlers in this game that are we'll say custom. I guess we can still call them original, on the fact that they are in fact creations made by one specific person, but that doesn't make it original in the sense of it being something that has never ever been done before. Because if that were the case, if you wanted to make it sound logical, then the first original CAW would be the only original CAW that was ever made, that being the first person who ever made a CAW that was original. And that wasn't me. I don't have any idea who that might have been, but every other CAW after that would be basically a carbon copy of the original. Sounds kind of far-fetched, doesn't it? But you get the general idea. So as I'm rambling on, you pretty much see some of the tricks that I used, utilizing the line tool and the shape tool to make circles, which will be kind of like grommets or sequins, or more like grommets actually. I'm gonna put up a picture of the attire that I'm basing this specific design off of, which is one of Miss Brooke Tessmacher's attires, as featured in her photo page on the Impact Wrestling website. And it is a good idea to check out those websites and fan pages for divas or knockouts, just to get a general idea of, you know, some stylish yet functional ring attires that the ladies do rock in the ring. And also take a look at Joshi wrestling videos and photographs of Japanese female wrestling, because it still is pretty big overseas, obviously a lot more so than it is here in the United States. It's definitely more niche here than it is there. And Joshi wrestlers, Joshi Puroresu, features some of the most ornate and decorative ring attires that you will ever see, and is a very good source of inspiration for creating your own attires, whether you're trying to make a carbon copy or just some form of functional variation that will make a CAW look more unique. So we have our basic schematic here of what will be a top, corset style top like the one that she's wearing. This one will actually go over one of the actual in-game bikini tops, which will supply the straps that would make it truly functional and hold on to her form, because otherwise this would probably just fall right off of a woman's chest. So we will fill in the holes here. Let's switch our color to white and start using the bucket tool or fill tool to fill in the grommet pieces or sequins, whatever it is that you want to call them. They'll look like little holes in the top or little studs, what have you, when you see the final result from a distance. I kind of sound like the CAW version of Bob Ross. Like, we're gonna make some happy little clouds here. Yeah, I know, I went there. It is what it is. So we'll do 1/2, then we'll go back to that handy dandy little mirror tool and let it take care of the other half. There you can see the other half was all filled in with white. So now we'll go back to black using the dropper tool and fill in this middle section here. And now we'll have to contend with the top half, the bust area, if you will. And if you take a look at the photo of Brooke, you'll see that there's a lot of floral design going on there. We're going to try to see if we can rebuild that as best as possible using the line tool. Now, you don't have to necessarily go for 100% accuracy. As a matter of fact, I intentionally don't go for 100% accuracy because I'm usually not trying to completely recreate an attire from what it is that I see out of a photograph, but just make like a variation of an attire that would best be applied for that specific CAW. So I'll use some cues here and there from other places and just kind of jumble it all together to create the final results that you will usually see on community creations or any one of my showcase message boards threads that I have started over the years. You can see the ease of using the line tool in 256 format compared to if you were to try to do the same thing with the 128 format, which would be extremely difficult to get the level of detail as you can in high res, even though this is going to wind up becoming low res after I import it into a low res slot after I complete everything on the top. Now, when you do that, obviously you will lose some image quality, but the fortunate thing is that it won't be so much to where the designs are going to look like a jumbled up pixelated mess. And even in those off-ended chances where they do look like jumbled up pixelated messes, they'll still be decent enough to use on a CAW to where you're not really going to notice them much. So we're going to continue with the floral designs, kind of like leaves, really. Not overdo it because I don't want to spend too much time doing one thing on this tutorial, because there is a lot of other information I have to share with you here. And we are reaching the 25-minute mark slowly yet surely. I try not to keep these tutorials too long, but there is a lot going on here. But I'm hoping you, at least through seeing this visually, get a bit of an idea of how it is that you can use the tool practically without necessarily having any kind of artistic background. Like, you don't need to know how to draw to use the logo designer effectively to create different logos and effects, tattoos and attires and signs and logo pieces for your wrestling rings and anything else that you might think of. It's very easy to use once you get used to applying the different tools for different effects, such as the line tool for drawing and making curves and designs and the fill tools and the mirror tool and all the rest of that stuff that is right at your fingertips. And there you see the final result of my efforts in this particular attire piece. Looks very decorative and is going to hopefully look pretty darn cool on the CAW model herself. Now, something I actually wanted to show you real quick right here. I'm in the color palette, and I want you to take a good long look at these numbers that you see there. X16, Y165. Those are the XY parameters that you would use if you wanted to actually create a skin tone in some form of paint tool or logo design. Say for a female, if you wanted to create cutoffs on the sides of her tights or bottoms or even the tops. Since obviously you wouldn't be dealing with bare skin since they'd be covered in clothing, you can create a skin effect yourself using those specific parameters there. And as far as the shade goes, you would just have to experiment to match that color to the skin shade of the CAW themselves. Obviously 0 is going to give you a brownish chocolate brown color for black people, and then the full 255 will give you more of a I don't want to say palish color, but it's brighter Caucasian, possibly Asian skin tone, not too much tan going on there, and of course every point in between. So just keep that number in your head, write it down, save it in Notepad, whatever. That's only going to help you make even more elaborate paint tools down the road using the CAW models themselves. So now that we have our top ready-made, we'll save that, and then we're basically going to import that 256 file into a 128 file slot. We go to our logo tool or importer, then we'll go to that piece and basically shrink it down to fit into a 128 by 128 format. You are going to lose some image quality, as I said before, but it's not going to be so much to where it's noticeable, as you can see there. To kind of stave that off a bit, I recommend that you shrink it, but keep it as big as possible on the palette so that you don't lose too much off of it. And then select, and that will be what is actually going onto the CAW. So we'll save that, and then remember where I said you were going to have to wind up doing a couple of pieces. Here's where that comes into play, because that obviously is the front of, or will be the front of this CAW's top. You're going to have to do the back of the CAW's top as well, and obviously it would look really stupid if the back of the top had cups, wouldn't it? So for that, I suggest you copy that file over, go in and do some editing to match it up to the front design, but to where it will actually naturally look like the back of a top. Now if you wanted to be resourceful or lazy, you could use that back half design also as a cover up for elbow pads or arm sleeves, like the kinds that Miss Tessmacher wears. That's probably what I'm going to use that for anyway. Then there's the hand pieces, which look a little different from your normal gloves, which is why they look so cool, and are certainly something that's worth recreating here. So sometimes it's just a matter of imagination and application, just like I said before. Now you have to think in terms of how they're going to look on the CAW model. So I think we can probably afford to work this one in 128 just to be on the safe side, because it's really just a matter of shapes that we're going to be creating here to make those gloves. We'll start with the bottom, which is basic black shape, and then the parts that wrap around the knuckles look kind of triangular to me. Let's take a closer look here. Kind of like a chain effect, sort of. This is really a matter of trial and error, because you can just simply go back and edit things around on the CAW as you see them necessary. So this is probably not going to be the last time I'll be here trying to piece this together, but that's definitely an accessory that I want to try to recreate because it looks cool. And that's what you want to try to get on your CAW. Stuff that look cool, stuff that look visually appealing. So that's that. We'll create an underside to make them look like straps, and then we'll probably add some of those kind of chain link type effects using white. But first let's fill that in, and we'll go to the color palette, set that up to white, and go to town with the line tool yet again, just around the edges. And you can see here it's a little trickier trying to create curves in 128 compared to 256, but since this is a simple design in essence that we're building here, there's no need to go high res for it and then have to go through the trouble of importing it into a low res file, because it's only gloves. They're only going to look but so big on the model's hands. Let's try to create some perfect shapes here. Subtle little designs. I'm gonna actually frame advance this to kind of speed through the process as I do it and get us to the next phase, in this, I guess you could call it, process. And there we see the final results. So as soon as I get that last little bit of color in there. And these will be cool looking gloves, hopefully, when we put them on the CAW. Maybe a little buckle here. And mirror that. Touch it up to create some division. Guess I wasn't quite done as done as I thought I was. But hey, that happens. It's all part of the process. You'll see things as you're working and then just build on them more and more. And that's how it goes, pretty much. Debating whether I want to just create a stripe on the sides. I think that will probably look a little better with a thicker line going down each end. Not that thick. Yeah, that looks good. Okay, and we'll save that. So we have our top, we have the back of the top that will also double as arm sleeves, and we have some gloves. Now as far as the bottom goes, I'll debate on whether or not I'm going to do a little extra with that. We don't need that high res one anymore, so I'll just go on and delete it. And now we'll go to part 3 of this tutorial, which will be actually applying it on the CAW herself so that you can see how it looks. Okay, so I kind of pushed forward again just to get the paint tool designs on the CAW model herself, just to give you an idea of how they're gonna look like in the final product. Still haven't done any body morphing on her yet, but I will. And we'll put the final completed project up on my up to speed 2K12 thread at the CAWs.ws forum. I'll put a link to that in the description here as well, so you can take a look at the last final product of what it is that we've been working on all this time. But you can pretty much see just from this footage right here that it all came together quite nicely on the CAW model. The glove designs I created, I put 2 each on each hand to represent the front and back straps, and you obviously see where the front and back of her top were utilized on the torso area. This is of course assuming that you know how to use the blur bypass trick that has been in place since last year's game. That's also on the CAWs.ws forum. I pretty much outlined step by step how you do that. There will be a link to that in the description as well. Final touch pretty much is going to be the last arm sleeve, which is also the back of her top, which is edited off of the front of the top. I just erased some areas and covered them in black. Now we'll just stretch that completely around the arm and reposition it to where they kind of look like elbow pads. Nice and even. And the top half of her, for the most part, is done. Maybe one final touch here as far as the wristbands go, because I think I can afford to make them the longer ones. Slightly longer. In black. Yep, that looks good. So all that really needs to be done now is the bottom half of her attire. I'll of course figure that out as I go along. And body morphing, gonna have to match up Miss Claudia San Pedro's proportions to the CAW model here. And I will actually have the final complete version of this particular CAW highlighted in her very own video, kind of a formal introduction, of which she will also be fully completed with moveset entrance, all the rest of that stuff uploaded to community creations for your own enjoyment. And I'll even come up with a name for her too. That was pretty much going to do it for the attire paint tool tutorial here. I hope that you followed along completely, because I know this was another long video, and some of the techniques that I used you can use yourself in your own creations. As always, that is the exact point of these tutorials. So if you have any questions or any ideas of what my next tutorial should be about, because I haven't yet completely figured out what I'm going to do next, you can leave them in the comments below this video. You can send me a message here to my inbox on YouTube, or you can send me a message on my inbox at the cause.ws forums if you happen to be a member there. So that's gonna do it for this one. I will speak to you guys next time with another class of CAW University. You are dismissed, ladies and gentlemen. Good night.